Hello, and welcome to the English with Colin Podcast, a podcast for English language learners. My name's Colin, I'm an English teacher in Tokyo, and if you're looking to improve your English skills and gain more confidence in your ability to communicate in English, you've come to the right place. In these episodes, I'll provide you with short conversations in English that cover a range of topics, from everyday situations to more specialised subjects. These conversations are designed to help you practice your listening skills and pick up new vocabulary and grammar along the way. Regular listening practice is key to improving your English, and I hope this podcast will become a valuable resource for you on your language learning journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. And remember, the more you listen, the more you'll learn. Before we start, I have a small favour to ask. If you are enjoying these podcasts, please take a moment to share your favourite episode with a friend. This really helps our podcast to grow. So, in your podcast app, click share and send a short message to a friend who might find our podcast useful. Thank you so much for your help. It really means a lot to us. Now, let's get on with the conversation. This is episode 47, and today's topic is Beyond Tokyo, some of our favourite places in Japan. Hello, Sue.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking. So, outside of Tokyo, I mean, there's lots of very interesting places in Tokyo, but outside of Tokyo, any places that come to your mind that you've enjoyed?
Very recently, and that was your idea. You really wanted to go there.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Nagasaki,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite south, so it's a long trip.
Yeah, Nagasaki is in Kyushu, which is one of the main islands, but it's the most southern main island. So yeah, it's far.
It is far, but I was amazed, blown away by the place. And it's not necessarily that it's like beautiful or, and we went in summer, during summer. So it was really, really hot and it's very hilly. It's very steep at points.
Yeah, no, that was kind of surprising because I think we're used to Tokyo being flat. Mm-hmm. Tokyo is really, really flat. This is why there are so many people living in this area, is that it's flat land. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go too far outside of Tokyo to hit mountains, like, quite serious mountains. Nagasaki is, it's in a bay, and it's quite a deep bay as far as I understand. But yeah, all around it's very kind of steep. Mm-hmm. You would say jagged, quite jagged.
Right.
Like that means kind of pointy hills and mountains.
But with all in all, with the heat and the hiking, is such an incredible city, so full of history, and yeah, I learned so much.
We did, yeah. I mean, normally summer vacation is a relaxing vacation. That trip was not relaxing, but we did learn a lot.
It was like a school trip.
It was like a school, yeah. We basically had a school trip down to Nagasaki.
No, it's just because it was such an important city in terms of connecting with the outside.
Yeah. Well, it's so, if you look at a map, if you look at Japan and you look at the location of Nagasaki and how close it is to Korea, like literally from Nagasaki, there's an island kind of halfway between Korea and Japan. And that's how people would get between Korea and Japan. They might stop at that island halfway. So it's two kind of short boat journeys to get from Japan to Korea. So it was a really important entry point into Japan, and also it was the only entry point into Japan for a long time when Japan was kind of closed off. You had this area called Dejima, which is where the Dutch, I think it was the Dutch, who basically were able to have a bit of land where they could basically trade. But it was very, very carefully controlled. Everything that was coming in was very carefully monitored and whatever. And they couldn't actually go onto the main island of Japan. They were restricted to Dejima. So yeah. And then you've got the Chinese history.
Chinese influence as well, yeah.
I think Nagasaki, is it the oldest Chinatown?
I think so, yeah.
In Japan. And it's not very big. The one in Yokohama, I think, is bigger, but it has a bit more history. And
they are famous for a dish.
Yes. Can you remember what it's called?
No.
It's champon. So Nagasaki champon, which is kind of a noodles and vegetables and...
It's like a soup with lots of vegetables.
Yeah.
And we were very lucky because we were looking for a place to eat and they were just opening restaurants for dinner.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of people already queuing.
Yeah.
And we just managed to get into
We timed it perfectly.
Into that
Our
queue.
timing was absolutely perfect because we were just walking by and we basically just joined the queue. And I don't think we had to queue at all. And once we were sat down in the restaurant, suddenly the whole restaurant was full. Like other people just kind of arrived, and we were very, very lucky to get in when we did. And it was nice.
It was lovely.
It was nice to kind of have some Nagasaki champon at the source, where it was invented.
Yes.
In that restaurant.
So they have a lot of different influences. They have the Dutch. They definitely have some Portuguese.
Yes.
And French, I think, later on. So they have Christianity. You can really see it in Nagasaki. And it's incredibly interesting. We learned a lot. I mean, I'm from Mexico City and I didn't know, but the saint of Mexico City died in Nagasaki.
Yeah.
So that was... Yeah, it was so incredible. I just felt, maybe that's why I felt a connection, like, oh, okay, no, we are definitely connected.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of, remember we were told there's a little cake like Portuguese cake, Castella.
Castella. With ice cream.
You can find the Castella everywhere. It's quite kind of traditional. I would had it a lot when I would go and play koto with my teacher.
Yeah.
Like Castella would be a staple with tea. But here is like a Castella sandwich with ice cream.
It's a Castella ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
So you got 2 bits of this Castella and then a chunk of ice cream in the middle.
Absolutely delicious.
Delicious, yeah, especially in that heat.
Yeah, and then we learned, Dejima, a lot. Well, one important import is sugar, because Japan doesn't really have sugar, but a lot of sugar, that's where it came in. So Castella and a lot of sweets are very traditional from Nagasaki.
There you go. Yeah.
Learned so much. I think that's why I loved it.
Every day's a school day.
I should have made a presentation of my trip.
I think you did just now. So yeah, other places we went to. One place that's very special to us is a place called Shima Onsen, which is in Gunma Prefecture.
Yeah.
Onsen, hot spring in Japan. And there are various places you can go. There's Hakone is very famous.
I'm very close to Tokyo.
Very close. So it's a very popular sort of... it's about an hour and a half or so from Tokyo. There is I can't remember the name. Begins with a K. Kusatsu. Kusatsu Onsen. Again, quite close to Tokyo. Quite touristy, but, an interesting place in itself. Shima Onsen in Gunma is not touristy, really at all.
No.
You've got some ryokan, so traditional Japanese inns. I think there might be one or two public onsen.
Mm-hmm.
And then each ryokan will usually have its own onsen. So we've been out there a few times. And yeah, you go out there, beautiful ryokan, a really nice dinner and breakfast. So you get the dinner in the evening and breakfast the next morning.
And it's incredible food.
Yeah, it's a feast. A real feast. And yeah, so that's somewhere we've been to a couple of times. We stayed in a ryokan called Kashiwaya, which is very kind of foreign friendly.
They were very friendly, yeah.
And yeah, made it very easy for us. And they've got a few onsen there. Some of the rooms have kind of onsen in the room.
And some private, three private onsen.
Yeah.
And each one it's different.
Yeah, there's a little bit of difference.
Yeah, so they're very nice.
So yeah, that's somewhere that we've really enjoyed. Now, Kyoto is somewhere we've been to many times, but not our last trip, but autumn, not last year, the year before, we went down to Kyoto. And what was special about that trip was that it was during COVID, which meant that basically there were no international tourists. Mm-hmm. There was only kind of domestic tourists. And it was also at a time when even domestic tourists were not traveling very much. Mm-hmm. So places like Kyoto, they were really struggling. Like a lot of businesses that rely on tourism, they were really struggling. We kind of decided that this was a good chance to go down and enjoy the autumn leaves in Kyoto at a time when it's never going to be like that again. Because usually the tourists, domestic and international, come for the autumn leaves, and it's beautiful. But when we were there, we basically I felt like we had Kyoto to ourselves.
We did, yeah.
We went to Kiyomizu Dera, which is a very famous temple up on a hill. And yeah, usually that would be completely full of, it was busy, but nothing compared to what it would normally be. And we also were there at exactly the peak of the leaves changing, the maple leaves turning red. And we just had the place to ourselves. We had dinner. We went to a Wagyu restaurant down by the river. Mm-hmm. Kamogawa is the river that runs through Kyoto, Kamogawa. And the restaurant we went to was right on that river, and with a balcony sort of looking out onto the river. So we could come in, the lady who works there, she was preparing the meat, and we ordered a couple of beers, and she said, if you want to go and stand on the balcony
while
the food's getting ready, then you can do that. So we were just stood there having a drink, looking over this beautiful view of the hills and the river.
Yeah, we were the only people. It's a small place, but still, we were the only people there.
Yeah, so we basically had this little private restaurant experience in Kyoto. So that was a very unique experience, I think, just being there at that time. And we just had an incredible time looking around. The same with Nikko, which is further north. It's in Tochigi Prefecture. And again, very few people were traveling because of COVID, and we really timed that perfectly. There's a road, which the name escapes me just now, but there's a road, a very windy road up this mountain, and it's kind of a famous road for kind of driving on, because it's so windy. But we were there for the autumn leaves kind of changing, and yeah, again, a very
very special. Yeah.
One place we talked about in the last episode was this island, Shikinejima, and we were there for a weekend. We went with a couple of colleagues of mine, and we were the only people there again. Pretty much, there was not many people. Part of the reason, I think, was because there was a typhoon coming.
Yes.
And also COVID.
Yeah.
So again, COVID was a great time for traveling domestically.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, because it's such a remote island, they didn't take a chance to travel with the typhoon coming. The typhoon did not appear. I think it just kind of went a different way. But yeah, we were on this kind of island by ourselves. So we had this incredible beach, like something out of a movie. And yeah, completely sort of enclosed, lovely swimming. And
we rented the bikes just to get to the beach. Yeah.
Yeah, little electric bikes.
Yeah.
And we're sort of cruising around. And that was really nice. One of my favorite memories from that trip was we took a hydrofoil boat from Tokyo out to this island, and I think it was a couple of hours maybe, and it stops at another island, or maybe another 2 islands before it got to where we wanted to go to. And we were leaving one of these islands, and the hydrofoil, it kind of goes slowly, and then it has to reach a certain speed so that the boat can actually get up onto the hydrofoil. It's not like a normal boat. It has to go at a certain speed for it to work. And as the boat accelerated, there was a lot of flying fish in the water. And the flying fish, they only fly when they are in danger, when they're trying to escape. It's an escape mechanism for them. So as this boat accelerated, I don't know how many, more than 100 of these flying fish just took off out of the water, and we just saw these things flying into and they fly a long way.
They do. They're incredible.
It's like, if you're a Harry Potter fan, the wings are kind of like the the snitch.
The snitch, yeah.
The snitch in Harry Potter, if you see the movie. That's kind of what the wings of these fish look like. And they took off, and they can fly a distance. They can properly fly.
Yeah.
And yeah, just seeing that. Because I thought flying fish was something that you could only see like in the middle of the ocean. Like, I thought you had to be in the middle of the Atlantic to see them. But no, they're really close to this island. Yeah.
I mean, it was incredible to see them, yeah.
It was incredible. I got very excited. I think you can remember. I got very, very excited when we saw those. So yeah. So those are a few places that we've really enjoyed. And yeah, there's many more we could talk about, but I think that's a good place to stop for today. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the English with Colin podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation and found it helpful in your language learning journey. Remember, the key to mastering a language is regular practice. So make sure you listen to our podcast regularly and keep honing your listening skills. We appreciate your support and feedback, so if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future topics, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to joining you again next time for another conversation in English. Until then, keep practicing and take care.